You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hella Well with Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle Washington, and you're probably wondering, where the heck have you been, girl? I know, I've been a little bit missing in action for a bit, got into the holidays, and I don't know about you, but I just went in this internal mode and just was internal and literally internal. I was inside the house, Omicron was going crazy, and not even that, I was just processing a lot and feeling like I needed to hibernate. And so I decided to do what I tell all of y'all, and I took the time to rest. But on top of that rest, and I also want to kind of give more transparency about what was going on in my life and how we got to today's topic about lessons in love, is I decided to sign up for a Kundalini yoga teacher training. Been thinking about it for a while. I've been doing Kundalini for a bit, all through 2021, and it really has changed my life. And so catching up, I'm in, this program, and I had to catch up because I started a little bit later. And so I was doing all this yoga, and I don't know if you know anything about Kundalini yoga, but it really taps in not just to, the physical form, but it's about the mind, body, and spirit. And a lot of the exercises that you do definitely work on the mind. And so I found myself through this process, uber emotional, and just one day I'm so angry and I'm mad at everyone in the world. And the next day I'm like, oh my God, I love everyone. It's so amazing. The world is perfect. And I could feel this love and joy pouring out of my heart. Where then again, it goes back to those other days where I'm just I can literally cut someone today and not feel bad about it. And so I would go back and forth between all these things. And for me, it was I don't know if I should be doing a podcast right now because I just don't know. I don't even know what to say. And I had nothing to say because I was processing so much information. And I can't wait to share more about the process because the training is amazing. I'm going through Dream Hive. If you guys don't know Dream Hive, they are in New York. They are amazing. I'm just loving the teachers that they have brought in. And I've just it's definitely changed me even more so as a person. So I can't wait to share more. But on top of that, Venus went into retrograde, and Venus was messing with my life. Venus was messing definitely with my love life. Not only did one ex literally, that I thought I had blocked, I'm really confused how this happened, but nonetheless, an ex wrote me a text early in the morning. It's I'm missing hitting it from the back. Mind you, I dated this person in 2008. Right. Had no desire to go. I'm random. I'm give this to all your ex-girlfriends because I'm why am I getting this random text and years later? Another one hit me up through online dating app. And then I met a guy, which that, by the way, I got on online dating. I haven't dated for a long time. And I guess I should explain this. I have not dated I've not been in a relationship since 2015. And I haven't had sex since 2018. Last guy I was with, I literally felt I was being raped. And what I mean by that, because I wasn't being raped, I was having a good time. Let me rephrase that. I was in another country enjoying myself. I'm a grown woman. I'm if, he was cute, I thought, okay. Literally in the middle of it, I had to stop because I felt energetically I was being raped. Again, was not being raped. I did consent to the situation, but I had to stop because energetically I was oh my God, my body is you can't do this. And I just stopped. First time, second time I've ever stopped, second time I've ever stopped literally in the middle of sex. I was I can't do this. And that's when I told myself that I can't just sleep with anyone. Now that I've been doing this energetic work, becoming a Reiki master, doing ayahuasca and all these different other things, doing Kundalini, all these things that I've been doing and this healing I've been doing, it has made it so I can't just have random hookups. It don't work. It don't feel right. Like I can't just have anyone in my space. And so I have intentionally opted not to be in a relationship. I have intentionally opted not to have casual sex because it didn't feel right. But I also didn't stop dating just because I need to work on me. Like I could have met Mr. Perfect and it wouldn't have worked because I wasn't in the right mindset. I hadn't done the healing work to, be aware of my emotional wounds and to start processing them and then start showing up differently. So there was no way, it was kind of pointless to get back into dating if I was going to keep doing the same things and having the same patterns. And so I intentionally chose not to. And then in 2021, I was like, I think I'm ready. I think I'm good. Like I feel grounded. I feel like I love myself. I don't feel like I know that I love myself. I know that I'm worthy. I know that I have something to give, and not to the point where I could get lost in a relationship, but that I could hold my ground and be me while also being connected to someone else. So I was ready. I was ready. I've been ready. And so I jumped and I met a guy. A guy reached out to me on December 9th. And it's funny because I remember distinctly, he reached out on December 9th and I saw it, I was like, I don't know, interesting. I'm like, I was reading his profile and I'm like, I really like what he wrote. And I started getting to the bottom. I'm like, ooh, if I keep reading the rest of this, I'm going to be really turned off. And so I was like, I'm just going to stop. And so I did. And I sat on it. I sat on it and sat on it. Interestingly enough, I sat on it enough until December 19th, which was when Venus went into retrograde. And I said it to reach out. And the conversation was amazing. We connected in so many different ways, realizing that we have been in the same place so many times throughout, like through high school, at least through high school. We have gone to the same locations. We even went to the same community college. And so, which was interesting, like our paths across so many different ways. And there was a connection. There was a connection that was deep and it was familiar and it was just instant. And I hadn't really experienced that before, not on that level. And it was just, there's something there. And so, again, with me going through everything I was going through with the Reiki and the Kundalini yoga, I was just open. And I told myself I was going to be open. My word for 2022 was love. And not just love for other people or, people loving on me or me loving someone else, but love for self, love for community, just spreading love. And that was kind of what I went into 2022 saying, I'm all about love, and everything that has to do with love is all what we're going to be focusing on this year. And I was like, what better way to bring in love with a relationship in 2022? So we kept going. I mean, the guy was cute, though his pictures didn't always match. I won't lie. And I don't know if that pissed him off that I would always say that, but I'm like, dude, you don't look like your pictures. Like one picture you're super tan, one picture you're super skinny, one picture you're a little bit bigger. He looked great in all the pictures, but I'm like, I thought they were 4 different people. I'm just saying what I'm saying. But he was a great guy. Like he was around my age, we're same age. He was spiritual. He was like, he had a spiritual practice. He was funny. He seemed vulnerable and he seemed open. His words were amazing. Like I've never had a guy tell me like, I just want to elevate you. I was like, oh my God, this is when they cue the music. I'm like, did he just say he wanted to elevate me? Oh my God. I had a guy that said he wanted to elevate me. And that was everything. That was like, I was like, here's my ring size. Okay, I wasn't that bad. But it was like one of those moments where it's just like, it moved me enough to open up further with him. And yeah, his words were everything, though his actions didn't always match his words. It's interesting. So this is my first time being in a relationship with, the ability to do Reiki. And so, of course, I'm having these loving feelings and I just want to connect with him. And so I remember one night I did Reiki on him and like I was working on his heart or just working on him. And I got this horrible feeling. I'm like, oh my God, he's lying. Oh my God, he's lying. Oh my God, he's lying. He's lying. He's lying. He's not telling you something. He's not telling you something. He's not telling you something. He's not being truthful. He's not being truthful. And I'm just like, oh my God, Reiki never lies. Is this true? Like, what's going on? Like, what is he hiding from me? And so I kind of took it for like, oh, we should not talk. Like, I should just end this now. But then I was like, again, trying to be open. 2022, new me, new you. I don't know why I said new me, new you, because I don't even believe in that stuff. But I was like, I was open. I have been open. I am very open to love. And the possibility. And so I was like, I'm just going to keep rocking with it. Did Reiki on him another day because he was having some pain after his booster. And like, I felt it again. It wasn't as strong. And I remember our first meeting was bomb. Like we went for this magical hike, one of my favorite places to go hiking. And we just connected. We connected. Like I remember holding his hands. I'm like, I don't normally hold people's hands. And I'm holding hands with someone who I just met. Granted, we'd been talking for weeks, but first time seeing this person in person. And we're stopping to hug, we're holding hands, and it just felt so good. I'm like, oh my God, could this really be true? Can this be my guy who's just been across the bay all this time and I just haven't noticed him, even though we've been at the same locations for years, decades of our paths crossing. And it just felt magical. But like again, did Reiki the second time, still felt something. And so on our first date, this is a new Danielle. So I'm like, I just need to tell you something. I'm like, Reiki is saying you're not telling me the truth. Like you're lying. Like, what are you lying about? What are you hiding? Yes, I did call him out on our first date. I'm like, what are you lying about? I'm like, Reiki's telling me this. And then, long story short, found out that, okay, maybe he wasn't lying to me, but we're not telling me something, but there was something he was telling himself. And I had to check myself to be like, I've never done Reiki on someone and the message has been about me. So why did I project whatever I was feeling when doing Reiki on him, that it was about me? And that was a lesson in love. That was a lesson in using my gifts of, remember, sis, when you use your gifts, it's not, you were learning messages for people and things in their life. It's not always about you. And that was a lesson I had to learn. And I had to be like, my bad. And I was okay with saying my bad. And even better, even though I think it bothered him, because it was like, how is she is that ethically right to be using Reiki for? And I wasn't trying to use Reiki to find out things about this person. I just wanted to give this person love the first time. The second time, I wanted to help them feel better. I wasn't trying to okay, Reiki, tell me his social security number, tell me his size of, his member. Reiki could tell me that, oh my God, I would have the most lucrative business for single women, but it doesn't. But that said, I still went with it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, maybe I was wrong. Reiki was talking about the stuff he's going through in his life. I did learn a lot of stuff. I was like, ooh, okay, different. But I was still there. I was still ready to rock with this person. I should also mention, not only did I do Reiki on this person, but I also pulled some tarot cards. And, I looked at our astrology because one of the first things he said to me was, well, I almost didn't date you because you're a Virgo and I'm Aquarius. And I'm just like, what? That's just our sun signs. You need to look at the moon and all these other things that all come into play. Granted, when I start looking at things, I was like, ooh, yeah, our moons and our suns and everything doesn't really match, but it says we're really passionate, but it sounds like this may not be a match. But I was, again, open to love. Said love was my word, open to love. The cards were like, nope, sis, this ain't the match. It's a good learning lesson. And I was like, maybe the cards were wrong too. maybe the astrology is wrong. I mean, look at my parents. My parents, my dad's an Aquarius, my mom's a Virgo, and they've been married for 54 years. I'm like, maybe there's something. And I should have, like, there's the 3 times I almost ran. But that was me again learning about my triggers and I because I'm a runner. I won't lie. In previous relationships, I ran and I told myself, no, we're not going to run. You're projecting these things from your past or these stories, and that's not what you wanted to do. So, long story short, the relationship is over. Some things happened, and I I don't know. Like, I don't really know what happened because things were going so well. Well, let me phrase that. I do know what happened. Things were going amazingly well. And I waited. I mean, it was so cute. The first date, he was like, I don't even want to kiss you. I want to wait. I want to wait and like, I want to get to know you better. And I'm just like, oh my God, guy doesn't even want to kiss me. He just wants to, get to know me first and really build a connection because he hadn't been in a relationship in a while either. Second date, wouldn't kiss me then either, really. And so I'm just like, third date. And then finally we had sex. And then right after we had sex, it's when he stopped, like I stopped getting the messages of saying, oh, I miss you. I'm thinking of you a lot. And then, yeah, just nothing. And the lesson, there's so many lessons here. The first lesson I got out of this was, yeah, I'm hurt, but I'm not broken. Back in the day, a sister would be broken, like, oh my God, the world is over. Cue Adele, cue Sade, it is time for them to come through. Nah, I would go into victim mode. I was like, oh, he just used me. He said all these things to get into my pants and all these different things. Because I was also really low key, not like everything inside of me said, don't show this person where you live. And I was like, why do I feel this way? Like it kept saying, don't let them know your house where you live. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm very protective about people in my house, but I was just like, I kept getting this feeling and I was ignoring it. And yeah, so lessons learned. Not I'm hurt, but not broken and not a victim. And that's a huge lesson. It's a huge way for me to realize that, yeah, that all that self-help work I've been doing through 2015 and the healing and the other spiritual work I've been doing, yeah, that's paying off. That's paying off in like tons and tons and tons of folds. I'm also I'm not bitter towards them. I'm really like I wish him well. Like all honesty, I wish him well and his family well, and I want him to find what he's looking for. I want him also to heal the things that he has going on that made him show up the way he showed up with me. Because again, words said one thing, action said another. What else did I learn? I learned what an interesting story in life was. I'm not the same as I used to be in previous relationships. And what I mean by that, in previous relationships, even sexually, like when we were talking about, prior to having sex, we're talking about, oh, this is what I like, this is the way I am, and da 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 da. And then in the middle of it, or right before, and like, yeah, I don't think that's me. Like I used to be this person who was into all these different things, and that's not what I want anymore sexually. And I was like, oh, this is odd. I'm like, who's this girl? Like, she wants this more spiritual connection sexually and all these different things versus, yeah, I need you to dominate me. More information than anyone needs to know. But anyway, hopefully my mother doesn't listen to this. But I also learned a lot about the fact that I can be extremely honest right now. And that's who I want to be in a relationship. I don't feel like I have to hide my feelings. I think that's something I noticed in most of my previous relationships is that I always felt like I had to be whatever I needed to represent this person that they would love. And here I'm like, no, this is me. And me is telling you that your actions aren't matching your words. I like you. but I'm sailing away because you're not connecting with me the way I need to connect. And I need to connect on a quality time is my love language. And so if for me, if you want to get into this, quality time is the way and conversation is the way. I'm a sapiosexual. Like I will be more into someone sexually by their words than I would be by what they look like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at someone who looks really cute, but I'm a person who loves communication. And so that's what works for me. And so I wasn't afraid to tell him that. I wasn't afraid to tell him when things triggered me and that I was triggered and that I was working through it. I wasn't afraid to tell him that I'm a runner and ask for patience. And that was new for me. That was me showing up as me, not as my representative. And I'm like, oh, I like this girl. She's like sassy and she's honest and she's able to easily recognize her triggers. And instead of being triggered and going down this whole road, she's like, oh, no, stop, trigger alert. Let's kind of revert the other direction and go a different way. And being able to see all those different things, but also on top of that, I also realized I was someone who desires a high level of honesty and not just desires it, demands it at this point. And like I could be like, okay, well, let's fight and that's the old me, the old patterns and like, let's continue fighting for something. And I'm like, I would fight for relationships with emotionally unavailable people. And I'm like, no, you don't need to fight. If honesty is not something that this person values, if, you know, quality time is not something this person values, or just me and my time and my energy, then yeah, you could be great and we could be friends, but I don't need to share my physical and intimate and spiritual space with you because I know that my person is out there. I know he's there and I'm not jaded. That's the beauty of this all. One thing I learned is like, I think other times I'd be jaded after a relationship and you kind of get back in the game. Nah, I'm excited. Like what this taught me is that every encounter, there's a choice. And we need to learn how to take responsibility. My responsibility is, yeah, I slept with them, even though I disregarded all the signs, the tarot signs, the Reiki signs, astrology, my intuition. Even in the moment, I was just like, something happened. I was like, I don't want to do this. But I did it. And I don't regret it because it was nice. Like, I won't lie. Like, I kind of miss some sex, but it was nice. So I don't regret it. And I don't regret it being him. Like, it was good. The other thing I learned was that even spiritually woke people have a shadow side, me included. And so, they still have a shadow side and they still have things they're working out. So as spiritually as someone can be, doesn't mean they don't have issues that they're working through. Doesn't mean they don't have trauma, present, known or unknown, that they're dealing with that shows up in their relationship and how they're dealing with you, or limiting beliefs in how they're dealing with you. And so that was like, oh yeah, just because they're spiritual doesn't mean that there's a past. There's no past. Everyone has work. Again, I include myself. I still have my own shadow work that I'm still doing. And so I kind of got blindsided to that. And I was just like, oh, they're spiritual. They must be amazing. No, not everyone's spiritual. I mean, they still have their own stuff they need to work through. I talked about this before, but like being able to kick old patterns for me was huge. Like being able to really be able to say like, okay, here's old pattern. He used me, he mistreated me, he took advantage of me. I'm like, no, I took responsibility. I gave permission for everything that happened, even when I knew at one point that this ain't gonna go nowhere. I knew, but I still allowed it to happen. I still gave permission for the conversation. I still actively continued communication in a situation, I knew was, this is probably not going to work out. So I love the fact that old me didn't show up and like, oh, it was all him. I was like, nope, Danielle, you got to take some responsibility too. And for that, I'm grateful. I am grateful for this entire situation. I'm grateful for the sense that I'm hurt because I am hurt. Like I'm human. I'm just like, I haven't shared my body with anyone in years. I haven't shared my space outside of my family. No one has been to where I live because I'm really intentional about not having people in my apartment. And so it was interesting, and best believe a sister did some deep spiritual cleaning up in here. Sage took everything out, and yeah, the house has been spiritually cleaned to the fullest. But again, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for this experience. I'm grateful that I'm not grateful I'm hurt, but I'm grateful that I wasn't broken and I don't feel like a victim. I'm grateful for the loving feelings. Like he made me feel amazing. He made me feel seen. He made me feel kind of heard. Maybe not always heard, but he made me, I won't say kind of heard, but he made me feel that loved, and he would send me these messages like, I'm thinking of you. I can't stop thinking of you. And I'm just like, yeah, I love these things. And the whole thing I talked about earlier about him, saying, I want to elevate you. I just want to elevate you. And I'm vulnerable here with you. And I'm going to be honest. And like that loving feeling you have of being in a new relationship, I am grateful for that. No matter how things ended, I am grateful that I got to re-experience that in a different way. I got to experience that from the authentic me and not me showing up as someone else and kind of taking everything I'm like little bits in here and there. I got to show up as me and still know that, hey, someone could at least say that they are liking what this person looks like and what this person feels like. And so I am grateful for that. I'm grateful that this proved to me that I can change how I show up in relationships, that I can be me. I can be my authentic self fully. And I can also say when is it time for me to be like, this isn't working for me. And it's okay, because I am the person who's like, I'm still holding on, like, don't leave the sister. That was the old me. New me is like, no, you live in abundance. And because you live in abundance, like there's so much out there for you that if this ain't it, there's someone else. And it's okay. There's someone else out there for you who will treat you properly, who will respect you, who will be honest with you, who words will match up with everything that their actions. I know that. And so for me, being able to see that I could be different, that I can be the spiritual person that I am. I can have the emotions and the feels and not have to be this representative. I'm grateful for knowing that that is a possibility, no matter how things happen. And I'm also grateful for the fact that I was able to catch again old patterns and old habits and be like, stop, not happening. And so that proves again to me that I can be in relationships and I can put myself out there and I can stop the triggers. The triggers don't have to be my story. The old narrative I was told myself doesn't have to be the story that goes into the future. And so I love and I'm grateful for that knowledge of that. But I'm also grateful that it opened me up further. Like I feel so much love. Like I even feel excited that I was like, okay, like I did celebrate when I told myself, I'm like, we're ending this. And we're ending this with love. We're ending this with wishing him well, wishing him blessings, wanting to still do Reiki on him, not because I want to find out information, but I want to send him love and healing because I know that there are endless possibilities for me for a deep connection, and that I'm worthy. And that's amazing for me. Like, I still desire love. I still desire a deep connection. And I know it's out there for me. And I'm grateful. I'm also grateful for the fact that one of the things, it was kind of a quasi issue for him, was that swearing. And I'm like, I've been known to be kind of a sailor. And it got me to rethink that a little bit more, not just for him, though he definitely played a part in it, but for me, like, it's something that I have been wanting to work on. And so hopefully in the next couple of episodes, at least, you'll start seeing it more and more, that, I am intentionally working on the language that I use and being intentional about my words. Even though sometimes you got to say a quick F word, I'm just saying it sometimes, just warrants the words. So that's my lesson in love. I'm still very open, and I am excited and grateful for this moment. I am grateful for meeting a guy who made me feel that I was special, that I was someone who was worthy of being elevated, that was worthy of being held and caressed and all these different things. And I'm grateful for how it played out, because, hey, I'd rather it play out this way sooner than later, because then I'm like, that leaves me open to not holding on this weight when someone else is out there and ready to take on this beauty that is me. So that's this week's podcast episode. I swear I will be back to normal again. Life has just been lifing, and this Kundalini yoga teacher training has definitely been something. And 2022 has, yes, it's a year of love for me, but what I really realized was, it feels like me coming home to me. Even in this relationship, I feel like I'm coming home to honoring myself, my authentic self, and who she is, and more to come. But I'm excited about this year and all the other podcast guests we have coming up. So thank you for rocking with me, and know that this year we're going places, all of us. So hang tight. It's going to be a beautiful ride. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.